Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on Monday evening or Monday afternoon in my case. I'm so excited you're here. This is going to be a really, really fun week. Um, we're extending the acrylic pouring extravaganza. This is week number 2. First week, the last week, I talked about all kinds of kind of basic acrylic pouring things, some more advanced acrylic pouring things. We looked at some really easy, foolproof mixing formulas. We talked about some color theory stuff, which is really fun. I showed you some consistency things on getting your paint to the proper consistency. I did a few different painting demos. We talked about a whole bunch of different things yesterday in our Q&A, and this week is all about showing you what we do inside the Pouring Studio paint pouring membership. And by the way, the membership is open right now this week. So I have condensed a whole month's worth of content, membership content, down to 5 days, which we're going to be looking at this week. So you'll see exactly what we do inside the membership every single month. But that is only the membership content. There is also a bunch of other amazing things inside the Pouring Studio membership. And I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit, but I just wanted to say hi, everybody, for joining me. Thanks so much for stopping by. We've got Monique in the house. We have got Linda. We've got Sharon. Hello, Sharon. Pat is here. George is here. Lorna is here. Carla. Hello, Carla. Irma is here. JC is here. We've got all kinds of people in the house. I'm sure I missed someone. Sonia is here. Linda is here. And I think I got Lorna. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our Monday technique walkthrough, and that's what we're doing today. Chris is here. I almost forgot Chris. Oh my gosh. So today we are going to take a look at one of the techniques. A different paint pouring technique is what we do every single month in the Pouring Studio. I go over one technique, and we kind of work on that technique all month long. It's really fun. I do. Today we'll be doing a walkthrough, so I'll show you step by step what the technique is. We'll walk all the way through it, what you might need for the technique, and I'll do a demo for you. So you'll get a whole bunch of info tonight. Plus, I've got a handy dandy technique walkthrough sheet right here that you can download. It's in, it will be in the download section for the acrylic pouring extravaganza. And if you haven't signed up for that yet, I'll put the link in the chat for you to go sign up. If you sign up for the extravaganza, you get a whole bunch of very valuable PDF downloads and resources. So I'll tell you what the technique is in a second. I want to keep it suspenseful. So, let's see here. Anyway, so I was going to mention, I'm looking at my notes, that the Pouring Studio is currently open this week, and this is the best time ever, and it will never be better to join the Pouring Studio membership than this week, because I have included 4 really great bonuses. 3 of them are really, really good. The 4th one is amazing. It's called the Mega Bonus, and just signing up for those bonuses is by far worth it. If you're at all interested in acrylic pouring or developing your skills with acrylic pouring or thinking about doing this, perhaps to sell your work, then those bonuses by themselves are well worth the price of admission. And I'll go through them very quickly, and then we'll jump into our technique of the week. So, but bonus number 1 is a course that I just completed. It's called Fluid Art Foundations. And it is my entire paint mixing system, all compacted into one course. I walk you through the supplies, the paints, the paint mixing, my paint mixing system, exactly how I mix my paints, exactly how I do it very quickly and fast and accurately every single time. Just that alone is well worth the price of the Pouring Studio, because that will save you a ton of time, and you'll be able to mix your paints very consistently every single time you do it. Inside there, I show you multiple ways of making a very special tool that I use every single time I mix my paints. There's a ton of resources in that course, and I walk you through the 3 core paint pouring techniques: the ring pour, the flip cup, and the direct pour. And that's kind of similar to what we're doing today. I take you step by step in detail, start to finish through those techniques. And that is bonus number 1, the Fluid Art Foundations course. Bonus number 2 is a course I'm working on currently. It's called the Paint Consistency course. And that is all about mixing your paint to the perfect consistency every single time for any technique. And there are many different consistencies for different techniques. Sometimes you need your paint thicker. Sometimes you need it very, very thin. Well, this course is going to walk you through exactly how to mix your paints perfectly every single time, regardless of the technique. I have special tools that I will include in that course that will help you get the perfect consistency every time. That is going to be an awesome course. And I'll be selling these courses, by the way, by themselves and individually. Anyone can buy them. The Fluid Art Foundations course is going to sell for $148. The Consistency course is going to be priced at $48. And bonus number 3 is a course all about pricing your artwork when you get to that point in that stage. And that is going to walk you through 3 different strategies for pricing your work, kind of depending on your where you're starting from. If you're right at the beginning, I have a very simple strategy. Kind of intermediate, I have a kind of a more intermediate strategy, and then a more advanced strategy. And that course comes with 3 different custom-built calculators that I built for myself to really, really help me price my artwork. They calculate square inches of your canvas or square centimeters. I'm working on that one right now for my members over in Australia. But they calculate anything else you need to put in there. Materials, they will calculate packaging costs, shipping costs. If you have taxes, it'll calculate taxes. Any kind of calculation you want to put in there, the calculator will automatically work it out for you and give you a final cost. So it's a very, very handy tool. I'll show you exactly how to use it, or all 3 of them. And that course is going to be released in 2 months. And that'll be sold for $98 when I sell it to the public. But as a member of the Pouring Studio, you get all these courses for free. They're included in the membership. And then bonus number 4 is the big one, the big jumbo gigantic mega bonus, which is every other course I create in the future will also be included in the Pouring Studio for free. And I've got a lot of courses planned. I've got most of them outlined, or at least the first big batch of them outlined. Some of them are going to be a bloom technique course. One of them is going to be a geode course, how to create geode pours. One will be all about resin. It's not going to be super comprehensive, but it's going to take you through the beginning and intermediate phases of resin, working with resin, how to use resin for your acrylic pours, how to finish your pours with resin. I've got another one that's going to be all about the pearl pour / kind of a cloud pour. Those 2 kind of intermix a little bit. They're kind of very closely related. And that's just for starters. There's a bunch more courses coming out down the road, including some regular techniques. I'll probably be doing like a cloud pour course, and probably simpler techniques as well. And those courses are going to be great because they're going to walk you step by step, kind of what we're doing today through the technique, but also they're going to give you little projects to follow. So you could follow along with maybe 6 different projects. You could do the first one. I'll give you the paints, the size of the canvas. You just follow right along with each project. By the end of the course, you'll have probably 6 to 8 paintings created, and you'll be very, very comfortable with that technique. So I'm planning on those types of courses in the future. And you might not be interested in all of those techniques, but if you're a member of the Pouring Studio, well, they'll all be yours anyway. So it's a fantastic bonus. Now is the time to join if you've been thinking about it at all. I urge you to really consider it. And the clock is ticking because Saturday, the cart closes. and then I will never, ever offer these bonuses again. The membership, of course, will open down the road a ways, and you could always join it at that time, but I'll never, ever offer these types of bonuses ever again. So it is the best time ever to join. I'll put the link in the chat, and you can go check it out after we're done here with our technique walkthrough, and see what you think. You could read more about it, and if you want to join, I'd love to welcome you into the membership. So I'm going to throw that down here in the chat, and there is the link to go check out the Pouring Studio membership. So, all right, everyone. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about that a lot because it's super important, and that was the best time ever. But now let's get into some painting and some one of our technique of the week here. And so I mentioned before, this is going to be in the download section for you. Today we're going to be working on the funnel pour technique. This is kind of a gadget technique, and there are a bunch of different gadget techniques. Gadget technique is like just some kind of a pouring technique using some special tool. So like a colander pour, the funnel pour, obviously. There's a whole bunch of them. Like a string pull is also a variation of a gadgety type of pour, but they're really, really fun. I love the funnel pour, and I'm gonna walk you through it. And there's multiple ways to do it. I'm gonna show you kind of the basics today, and then tomorrow I'm gonna show you some alternative ways, some different methods of going about creating a funnel pour. So I'm gonna flip it over here, and every month, not only do we do a technique, but I give you some kind of a color theme to think about or work with. And I thought of one for our week here today. And the color theme for this short condensed week is analogous colors. We talked about analogous colors last week. I thought it would be great to talk about them again and use that as our color theme. So I'm going to show you what the analogous colors look like. And where is my... Just a second here. I got to grab my special download. There's another download you can grab in the Acrylic Pouring Extravaganza download section, which is the analogous color sheet here that I created for you. So you can kind of put this together. It has all of the different analogous color harmonies, and we'll take a look at that really quick. So let me flip the camera and I'll show you. And let's see here. I'm going to show you this. So here is the analogous color harmonies. And we're just going to talk about this very quickly, just to give you some kind of an idea of what I'm going to be working with today. And analogous color harmonies are any colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So right here, I've got a color wheel, and I have a little slider that can slide around and show you all the different analogous color harmonies. And analogous, there are any 3 or 4 colors next to each other on the color wheel. So you don't have to use all 4. You could use 3 or 4. But they work really well together. Analogous color harmonies are very closely related, usually. So they mix well together. You're not going to get muddy colors most of the time. And they're very pleasant color harmonies to look at and work with. It's one of the oldest kind of classic color harmonies. So over here we got yellow, and it goes all the way down through yellow-orange. We've got violet, red, orange. Some of these in the middle are my favorites, from the blues to red violets to oranges and reds. They're very fun, pretty color harmonies to work with. And then you can put this little color wheel together if you wanted to. You can cut out the wheel and then get a little brad pin and stick it in there, and then you'll have this fun analogous color harmony color handout to work with. You can also look at a regular old color wheel like this one. This one's a little more complex. There's a lot more going on here, but you can still get your analogous color harmonies. Any 4 colors. I'll turn it over here. It'll make it a little easier. So blue-green down to violet. This is an analogous color scheme. Red-violet to orange. yellow-orange to yellow-green. That would be a fun one. So any of these colors next to each other on the color wheel are analogous colors, and they're great to work with in a color harmony. So I'll show you what I'm going to be working with really quickly. And so I've got a white, and this is a metallic white. I have got like a blue-green. So this is, what is this? Liquitex Bright Aqua Green. I have got a more of a, so it's like a bluish green. This is more of a darker blue-green, more closer to blue. And then I've got a very pretty, I'll put this in the middle here. This is kind of a silvery, it's like a warm silver that I mixed up. It's silver with a tiny bit of gold in it. So it's just kind of a warm, kind of pearlescent, pearly looking silver. And then also with this color scheme right here, I've got, this is an analogous color scheme. And white you can always add to any color harmony you want to, black as well. Black is what I'm going to use for my base coat right here. So black and white are always included if you want them to be in any color harmony. But I've also got a range of values, and we've talked about values a lot last week. So I've got very light values, and I've got some darker values and a couple in the middle here. Plus I've got our black, which is a really, really dark value. So that's a nice value range with our analogous color harmony. So let me flip back here. So that's just a little bit about the color theme for today or this week that we'll be working with. It's a pretty simple color harmony. It's a fun one to play with. And you can't really go wrong. It's a kind of a safer color scheme to use. So we kind of took a look at our colors. Let's take a look at our funnels. Since this is a funnel pour, we're going to be using funnels, a lot of them. I've got a bunch of them. And you can use small funnels, large funnels. I've got 3 different sizes here. And these, you can get these very inexpensively. The dollar store has like little sets of funnels like this, small ones to big ones for, $1. They're very cheap, inexpensive. I've got a bunch of different sizes. I've got like a larger one like this, a white one. I've got a smaller white one. I think I might be using this one today. But you want to kind of pick a funnel that'll match kind of the size canvas you're working with. So something like these smaller ones will work great for smaller size canvases. You can use a bigger one like this for a larger canvas. I use this one to do the funnel pour that's right behind me. There's an example of a funnel pour right here. And there's multiple ways to do them. I'm going to show you something kind of similar to what I did right here today. But they're very fun. And then if you wanted to work large, you can get some bigger funnels. And where is my thing? I'll show you these. These are some great big funnels that you can pick up. And they have a great big hole in the bottom. So the bigger the funnel, usually the bigger the hole, which means the more paint comes out quicker. So these would be great for large canvases. I got these at the automotive store. These are funnels for filling up your car with oil or any kind of fluids that go in your vehicle. So these are great big funnels that are fun to play with. On larger canvases, you'll notice that our smaller funnels have a very small little hole here. They go from small to medium, and then the smaller the hole, the slower the paint will come out of the funnel. So you can kind of use the whole size of your funnel to gauge the size of your canvas as well. And but don't overthink getting the funnel. Just grab a funnel and go to it. I think you'll have a whole lot of fun. And so there's multiple ways to kind of get the paint on the canvas. I'll be talking about our base coat in a minute. We always have to put a base coat down for a funnel pour. And there's a couple of different ways to do it. So I'll talk about that as well. So, but in our sheet here, we have our little funnel pour technique overview sheet. And this just kind of is going to cover the steps I'm going to walk you through today. It's a nice little thing. It's a nice little sheet to just remind you of kind of the steps that go into any of these techniques. And I make a technique sheet like this for every technique. And it's just kind of a helpful reminder of what you need to do at what stage of the technique. Plus, I have a couple little tips and tricks at the bottom, which you might find helpful. So, all right, so let's get started here. And let's take a look at our canvas. Actually, before we do that, let's talk about the paint mixing formulas and the paint consistency for a funnel pour. And you could use a couple different formulas. I like to use my easy paint mixing formula. You have that formula in your download section as well. It's a very simple formula, 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and just a little bit of water to get the correct paint consistency. That's a great one to use. That's what we're going to be using today, just a very simple paint mixing formula. I also like to use my Liquitex formula, which is Floetrol and Liquitex combined, and the paint, of course. So that one has a tendency to create some more cells. The Liquitex kind of helps enhance the Floetrol and create more cells, which is really, really fun. So that's a fun technique and pouring medium to play with. Another one that I'm going to work with tomorrow is just a simple glue-based formula. So just 2 parts glue, or 1 part glue, 1 part paint, and some water to get the proper consistency. You could also use some silicone or dimethicone, the coconut hair serum, in those paints, and then you could use your torch and create some very fun cells. We'll take a look at that technique tomorrow, or that pouring recipe, I should say, in our Pouring Night Live. And so tomorrow I'll be doing a couple different demos with some different ways of doing funnel pours, which is always really fun. So let's talk about the paint consistency. I'm just going to show you this quickly. We mixed up this green last week, and it was to my just kind of standard consistency. For a funnel pour, I like the paint to be just slightly thinner, not much thinner, but I add a little bit more water so I get a little less of a mound. So I'll show you what that will look like. And it just helps the paint kind of flow out of the funnel a little more into our base coat a little more, and it's also a little easier to tilt. We're going to do some kind of aggressive tilting with our funnel pour. So let me show you what the consistency looks like. Let me flip the camera here. So here is my third camera. So this is just the easy recipe. So I've got 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and a little bit of water. And here we go. This is the mound. You just pick up a bunch of paint on your spoon or your stir stick, let it drizzle back into the cup, and it makes a slight mound before disappearing kind of back into the pool of paint. So, and you don't have to get this perfect. It could be a tiny bit thicker than this if you want, a tiny bit thinner. You just want to get kind of close. So close is usually good enough. So that's kind of the consistency, and you can kind of feel it. Once you get the feel for this, it makes everything a whole lot easier. And that's the consistency course will really walk you step by step on exactly how to achieve all of these different paint consistencies. And I have a couple tools in there that are going to be super handy, so you can test your consistency when you need to and make sure you're in the ballpark. So that is the consistency we're going to be working with today and all week long, really. So let me flip back here, and I'm going to open up my paints, and I'll put some gloves on, and I'll take a look at our canvas and take a look at our base coat, and then we'll do a painting. So, okay, let me move these out of the way. And then, by the way, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. And let's see here. I'm just going to check and just see if there's any questions that might have come in while I was gabbing away there. Let's see. So I'm just quickly taking a quick look in case I missed anything that came in. I don't see anything at the moment, so that's good. All right. So welcome everyone else who's joined us. Glad to see who have found us and are here watching. So, all right. So let's take a look at our canvas here. And I'll put these down below. And I'm going to do a 16 by 20. So this is just a regular 16 by 20 canvas. I've put tape on the back. I've put my little cup hooks on the bottom to elevate the canvas up off my table. It's level, and I have spritzed the back with a little bit of water with my water bottle, just like this, so it's nice and tight. And so we're all ready to go. And I've got my I mixed a big old cup of black paint. So it's just black in here. So I'm just going to use that as our base coat. Just keep it very simple. It's a very simple, like analogous color scheme. And but it should be a fun one. So we have a black base coat. We're going to work with our kind of the blue greens. So kind of teals, turquoises, a little bit of silver, and a little bit of metallic white. So I'm excited to see what happens. Now, one thing with the funnel pour is very similar to a flip and drag. So if you had the flip cup and did a flip and drag, or flipping a cup over on our canvas that has a base coat on it, and then kind of dragging the cup around while the paint is flowing out. The funnel pour is very similar, only with the funnel pour, we have a much smaller hole that the paint is coming out of. So the paint likes to mix and blend together much more in a funnel pour than it does in a flip and drag. And by the way, you could use something other than a funnel. You could use like a paper towel, the center of a paper towel. What is that called? I don't even know. The cardboard paper towel holder thing. That would work good too. You could even cut off the bottom of a cup if you wanted to. That'll give you a bigger opening. That's a little more like a open cup pour. And it's also very similar to an open cup pour. We're pouring something in on one end, it's coming out the other end. That's like an open cup, only we do have a much smaller opening. So the paint will mix and blend together much more in a funnel pour than an open cup or a flip and drag type of pour. So these are all kind of related techniques. We're going to be putting a base coat on my canvas, and there's a couple different ways to do that, and I'll walk you through it in a second. But we'll put our funnel on, we'll fill it up with different colored paints. You could put your funnel anywhere you want, really, on your canvas to fill it up, and then we're going to kind of drag it and move it through our base coat. And then after that, we're going to do some tilting to enhance and change the design, and tilting and stretching will also create some cells or lacing and things like that. So it's kind of a fun technique to play with. But I got to put some gloves on here before I get going. I forgot about the gloves. So I always recommend gloves. I always wear them when I'm pouring, because you get so much paint on your hands. It's really hard to get off sometimes, and it's really not good for your skin. And it depending on the paint you're using, the colors. If you're using like cadmiums, like cadmium red, cadmium orange, cobalt colors, well, all those true acrylic paints using cadmiums, cobalts, all have heavy metals in them, which are not great to get in your bloodstream or on your skin. So you want to be careful with those. A lot of them are like the more affordable student grade paints. Don't use the true cadmiums or cobalts or things like that, the real heavy metals. But if you get into golden brand paints or some other higher quality, more professional grade paints, you should be wary of getting all that over your hands. Real heavy metals. It's not good for you. So I always recommend wearing gloves, especially when you're tilting around stuff. So, and Donna's got a good question. And where did it go? And have you tried putting a small funnel inside a bigger funnel to see what would happen? I have, actually. And you don't get a lot of interesting effects, really, but I'll show you a way you can kind of do the same thing. You can do a funnel drag. I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. You don't have to limit yourself to just one funnel drag. You could do one funnel drag and move it around your canvas. Then you could go over that funnel drag with another funnel filled with different colored paints, things like that. You'll get a So you're kind of putting one funnel inside another funnel. So it's kind of like a double funnel cup pour. It's kind of a fun way to do it. So you could also, you don't have to go inside the other funnel. You could do multiple funnels on the same canvas. I might do that today and show you what that looks like. So there's many, many ways of doing a funnel pour. But that's a great question, Donna. Yeah, I have tried that. It's a super gadgety, fun technique. And Susan is asking, the painting behind Brad looks like multi-funnels. This one was actually one funnel. And so it was one funnel full of paint, my big old funnel. It was this one. And I moved it all around the canvas. And this is an 18 by 24 canvas. So I moved it all around. And then I did a bunch of tilting and poured some off, stretched it out. So one funnel can really do a lot. But you can also do multiple funnels too. So, all right, I'm going to have to zoom out here. Let me flip over to the canvas, and I'm going to have to zoom out to get it in the camera. Whoops. A little bit more. There we go. Okay. So here we go. This is our 16 by 20, and we've got our paints. Let me open this up. We've got our black. And these are all mixed to the same consistency like that I showed you. And so let's talk about our base coat. So you can put your base coat on a couple different ways. I chose black for this one just because it's easier to see the black instead of a white. You could work with a white base coat, a black base coat. Any color base coat is fine, actually. You could even work with a split base coat if you wanted to. You could put a color down at the bottom, another color at the top, 3 colors, anything you want to do. I'm going to do a split base coat pour tomorrow with maybe 2 or 3 colors. And then you can kind of drag your funnel through where the colors kind of meet, and it'll give you a very interesting look. So that's a little more advanced technique, but it's a fun one. So the first thing you could do is just pour and I'll show you this. I'll just demonstrate it and show you different ways of applying your base coat. What we want with our base coat is a little bit thicker amount of paint on here, not a real thin layer of paint. Normally, I just use my palette knife and spread a very thin layer of paint over my canvas for things like a flip cup or a ring pour. But for a funnel pour, we want a little thicker layer of paint, almost like a flood coat on our canvas. And you could do a flood coat if you really wanted to. But the first way of putting on your base coat is just putting a puddle in the center of your canvas and just tilting it around. And this is kind of how you can do flood coats multiple ways too. This is kind of one way, just pouring a big puddle and then kind of floating the paint around. And let me move it down here. I don't want to go off the edges really yet. So I just kind of want an even layer of paint, and that's pretty good. So you could actually I could spread this out a little bit more, and let me do that just a tiny bit more. So here we go. We've got a nice big puddle, and now we could do our funnel right in the puddle here, and then we could stretch and tilt over the edges and the sides. And that is definitely a way to do it. It's kind of a fast way, but we will have to stretch over all of the edges and corners. So you will have to do that. So depending on what your paint looks like, you don't have tons and tons of options and choices. So it's kind of limiting because we do have to stretch it all out. Now you could kind of fill in an area if you wanted to. So you didn't have to tilt over that. But so that's one way of doing it. Another way is doing a flood coat, which is, someone is asking, Lorna is asking, what is a flood coat? Well, a flood coat is where you pour paint all over your canvas and then you tilt the whole thing off. So you cover all the edges, you cover all the corners, and that is what a flood coat is. That's normally done for swipes, and you could do that for Dutch pours, things like that. So I just put more paint on there, and now I'll do what's kind of, I'll start with like what a flood coat is really. And I'm going to tilt off a few of these corners. And bring the paint back. So you could work this way and cover everything at once before we put the funnel on. And this gives you the most flexibility, because now you don't have to cover any of the edges or corners if you don't want to. So you can just tilt just to manipulate your color designs and shapes, and without worrying about having to cover the bare canvas. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. Or you could just stop right here and just cover a couple of corners if you wanted, and then tilt over the other corners and sides after you've added your funnel colors. So there's a couple ways to do it. You can kind of grab the paint with your fingers a little bit too and help kind of pull it over these corners. So we're getting a very nice even layer of paint here. And I might have to add a little bit more. I just kind of estimated how much I needed. I'm going to just scoop up some paint off my table. Maybe finish this corner. Something like this. So there's multiple ways of kind of putting your base coat on. The easiest, the simplest is just that big puddle to start with. And then you can tilt after that. There we go. So we've got our canvas covered. We could make this look pretty and kind of tilt it off a little bit more if we wanted to. So that is a flood coat. Now the other way of doing this, I've got paint all over my hands. You could use your palette knife and just spread on like a little thicker layer of paint with your palette knife. That's completely fine too. That's a good way to do it. So turn that off. So we've got a big old canvas covered in paint. And now let's take a look at our funnels. And I'm going to use this little white one right here. So you can kind of see it, first of all. And it's kind of a middle-sized, smaller funnel, but I might do 2 pours on here. And Kathy is asking, so flooding the canvas doesn't have anything to do with the thickness. It doesn't have anything to do with the thickness of the paint. It just means we're covering the whole canvas with kind of an even layer of paint. And so typically pouring it on and then tilting it around, letting it flow off the corners, gives us a really nice even layer of paint. So that's what we're doing. Cool. All right. So here we go. Let's just checking to see if there are any other questions I might have missed. Hey, Gail. Gail's joined us. Great to see you, Gail. And all right, cool. So I've got my funnel. I'm going to use this white one here. And now what you can do is you can put your funnel anywhere you want, really. You could put it in the center, and you could kind of make a design. You could just start in the center and go outwards, with any kind of a squiggly pattern. I like to usually start on the edges with my funnel for a couple of reasons. First of all, you can kind of set it right on the stretcher bar of your canvas, so you're not having to push down so hard in the center and kind of distorting your paint. But I always kind of like to start on the edges and then work my way in to the composition from the perimeter somewhere. So let's just start putting in some paint. So I got a little bit of white. Maybe I'll put some of our green. Our kind of pewter color silver. And I'll go back to our white. And if you want to keep a very pristine base coat, you probably shouldn't be doing what I'm doing and pouring all the way across your canvas, because you could get drips. So, but I'm just layering the paints in. These are just floating layers, so they're just kind of floating on top of each other. But you could see right there, a drip. That's okay. But you could also do a high pour. So you could hold your cup high and dump it in, and then you'll get a lot of mixing when that paint kind of shoots into your funnel. That's a high pour. You could also do like a drizzly pour, which is you just kind of drizzle it over the top, something like that. I'll do another high pour with the teal. There we go. So we're kind of estimating how much paint we're putting in here. I have marked these and measured how much liquid goes in these funnels. And you could reference the canvas coverage cheat sheet if you wanted to. For a 16 by 20, we need about 10 ounces of paint for something like a flip cup or a ring pour. But I want to use far less paint than that, because I want to have a lot of negative space around. So I would cut that in half, or even divide it by 3 even. So maybe even just like 4 ounces or so. You don't have to be exact with those measurements, but we want to use far less than what it indicates on the canvas coverage cheat sheet for other techniques like the ring pour, flip cup, things like that. So this looks pretty good. I'm going to just start kind of moving it around. And what we want to do is delicately lift our funnel up. And I'm gonna flip the camera here, just so you can kind of see, oops, what's happening. I didn't do this right. Just 1 second. I'm doing some gymnastics. Let's see, camera gymnastics. Okay. So I'm going to flip over so you have a little better view of what's coming out of our funnel. So the paint kind of squirted out of there a little bit, but we just want to kind of slowly lift the funnel to let the paint out. And you can kind of control how fast or slow the paint leaves the funnel. And if you want to stop and think about it, you always can. You just push the funnel down gently, and it'll stop the paint, and you can kind of think about what you want to do next. And I'm just going to keep moving it around. I want just an interesting design. It's kind of what I like to do. And then I always will be tilting. There's my little drip I got. So I'm thinking about shapes and like an interesting pattern, and almost out of the funnel here. And I always like to kind of bring it back to one edge. So instead of stopping in the middle with a big, kind of blob in the middle, which is fine, you could do that too. I just am prone to kind of bring it back to one of the edges, and then we're done with that one. So let me show you. I'll flip it back to the top view and you can kind of see what we've got. So it's kind of a pretty color palette. And I saw a good question. So let's just take a look. We'll look at that for a minute and I'll answer this question. And Diane has a great question here. She says, with the funnel, do you need to worry more about colors turning gray? And yes, you do. And that's why we're working with this analogous color palette, because all of these colors together work really, really well harmoniously. Any colors next to each other on the color wheel. And we've got blue, greens, white, which works with anything pretty much, and kind of a neutral silver color. So those all work great. But if you're using things like orange and blue, then you're going to get way more mixing of the colors together. And with the funnel pour, the colors like to mix and blend together much more than like a flip cup, because they're all concentrated in that going out the spout. So they're all mixing together as they come out of the funnel. So yeah, you have to kind of think about colors a little bit more with the funnel pour. But I still like to use, colors that kind of create grays. I love grays though. So for me, I like that, to have neutralized colors. But if you want really pure, vibrant color, then I would be a little more careful. That's a great question. And let's see here. Cool. I'm just checking to see if there's any other questions. Nope, not really. So we've got this cool design. I kind of like it the way it is. I'm tempted to put another little funnel drag in here somewhere. And otherwise, we could just start stretching this one around. But let's see. Just thinking. What time is it? 3:47. Well, maybe we'll just go ahead and start manipulating this one, since we're already at 45 minutes in there. So now what we can do, and we have a big advantage now because we've already tilted the paint over the canvas. So we really don't have to stretch or tilt that much. If we were just working with our puddle, now we have to stretch over kind of the whole thing. So we have a lot more flexibility at this stage. So I'm going to just turn this, and I'm going to do a little tilting. And if you really like it the way it is, you could leave it. I always like to tilt a little bit, or a lot. And to kind of alter the design. And you can tilt, let's see here, kind of aggressively with these types of pours. And the more aggressive you tilt, kind of the more interesting and dynamic you can get. Let's see here. With your design. I just want to cover that corner up. So normally I tell you can take your time with the tilting, and that's my 3-stage tilting process. Take your time and go slow, and just, no need to rush or hurry. Well, something like this, though, we really do want to tilt it aggressively and quickly to get these things moving in interesting ways. Because you get more interesting shapes when you kind of tilt fast. So I'm really holding it up vertical, trying to move the paint around in a kind of interesting, unique way. And I'll show you this in a second. Okay. So there we go. That's like a pretty interesting composition. And I like it quite a bit. And let me wipe my hands off quickly. So we started with that very meandering kind of wiggly line, which I liked a lot. And I thought that was very cool. But if we can like aggressively move this paint around, we can really make it more organic and something that we could never really do with just our funnel and our hand. It turns into something much more dynamic. So now we've got these much more interesting shapes. We got these pointy lines, some straight lines, which I love. We've just got this very unique mix of different shapes that we could never really have gotten if we just kind of left it or just did a little bit of tiny tilting. But that takes, doing this like the first time, you're in love with like what you're seeing, or you're like, that's pretty cool. I don't want to mess it up. So techniques similar to this require a little bit of courage just to, move the paint around and just to see what happens. But the more you do, the braver you'll get. And you'll learn that, you can really move the paint around a lot and usually come out with something that you really, really like. So I quite like this one. I like the big areas of negative space are very cool. We have these big, interesting corners, this big shape. And we got a lot of action, interesting things in here. And we've got some cool cells happening. And by the way, the more you can tilt and stretch your paint, the more the cells will rise up and the more lacing will appear. And that's all because of the friction. So we're doing this really aggressive tilting that's allowing the cells to emerge. So, all right. So I'm going to flip this over here. Just turn it the other way. And just see what it looks like. And Lynn is thinking right. She and I are thinking very closely together. She says she likes it, but wants to add another color. And I was so tempted to add gold to this, but I said, nope, I got to keep it in just an analogous color scheme. So yeah, I was very, very close to throwing in some gold. I think gold would have looked really great, but I wanted to keep it really simple and analogous. So, and Susan is asking, does it matter how you put your paint in the funnel? Do you go down the side or pour directly in? I did a combination of both. I poured it down the side, and that's like the floating layers. I also did a bit of high pour, and that kind of shot the paint inside the funnel and created a little more mixing and blending. You could do either way. You could do just one, or you could do a combination of both or all three. And then I had that little drizzle layer. So, but you could it doesn't really matter that much. The different ways of layering will give you a little different effects, but any of those ways is fine. There's no right or wrong on how to layer it. And that, I would say that probably goes for color too. Like normally with a ring pour, the first color you put in your cup is the last color that comes out of your cup. But with the funnel pour, like the first color you put in is usually the first to come out. But you have a lot of mixing and blending, so I don't think it matters as much, like the color order, like which color you put in first or second or third. So, all right. So let me flip this back. I want to look at it this way. I think that's an interesting orientation. So, but that is a basic funnel pour. So we used an analogous color palette. We did a flood coat on our canvas, which is an option. You could also have spread it with your palette knife, or you could have poured that puddle, like what I talked about earlier. And then we put our funnel on there, we layered it, we drug it around the canvas in an interesting way, and then we did some tilting, some like aggressive tilting, and we got something pretty cool. So, and Diane is asking, so the funnel is sitting on the canvas. Yes, the funnel is right on the canvas. You're dragging it on top of the canvas, and you're just slightly lifting it. And the amount of the I'm trying to think of a good way to say that. The more you lift the funnel off the canvas, the more paint's going to come out. So it's a very delicate. You have a delicate grip on the funnel, and once you do it, you'll be able to feel it right away. It's not hard at all. You just want to start on the canvas and then just very, very slowly lift the funnel up, and you're dragging it through the base coat. Really, it's on the canvas through the base coat, and the paint is kind of flowing into the base coat to get these interesting shapes. So, but the funnel is, yeah, right on the canvas. So cool. So I'm going to turn this just around this way and then go back and see if there are any other questions. All right. So, well, that one turned out pretty nicely. I like that. Now, the other thing you could do is, if you take your funnel is now full of paint, as you can see. It's actually very pretty in there. But you could wipe that out. You could pull it out and keep it if you wanted to. Same with all the drippings on your table. You could collect all those, put them in a cup and cover it. Or you could wipe this out. And I like to, there's not tons and tons of paint in there, but I usually like to wipe it out. And with one of my tissues, I've always got tissues sitting next to me. They're more handy than paper towels. And so now I just pulled out most of the paint, and I've got a bucket right under my table that's about a third full of water. And so I'll throw my funnel in there so the paint doesn't dry on it. And that's important. You don't want to leave your funnels out because the paint will dry very quickly, and then it's kind of difficult to get it off. So if you have your a bucket with just a small amount of water, throw it in there, and then the water, you can kind of rinse your funnel out, and then you can use it over and over again and again. And then any tools I have like that, I'll throw in there, like my plastic stir sticks. I'll wipe those off and toss them in. So a little bucket of water is very handy. So, okay, so let me see. Any other questions you might have about our funnel pour or anything else? Throw them in the comments. I'm going to put in case you haven't signed up for the acrylic pouring extravaganza yet, I'm going to put that link in the comments. And if you go here to this page, it has all the links actually for our whole week here, our membership, our fast membership kind of walkthrough, our whirlwind membership experience. All the links are there on that page, and you could sign up for all these downloads, and you can get all these resources for free, which is pretty cool. And Angela is asking, the funnel is sitting on the canvas, then you slightly lift it and move it around. Yes, absolutely. So you just slightly lift and move it around. You can gauge how much paint is coming out. You can make it come out faster or slower, depending on how much you lift the funnel. You could always stop it and just push it down. Like, you don't have to push it down very hard, just push it down to stop the paint from coming out. But you'll get the hang of it. It's not very difficult. And it really takes, the first time you do it, you'll get the hang of it right away. So yeah, great question, Angela. All right. So cool. All right. So I'm just checking here and seeing if there are any, and JC says, her class on Sunday is going to be a funnel pour on a 15 by 30. That sounds like a lot of fun. That would be great. So, and Gail says, and this is so true, you got to be brave. Absolutely. You got to be brave. Artists are very, very brave people, and I admire them a lot. So, all right. Let's see. I'm just checking to see if are there any questions I might have overlooked earlier. And I don't think so. So hopefully I got them all. And cool. Let's see. Is there any new questions? So, all right. Cool. Well, I don't see any other questions. So, and we're at 4 o'clock. So that was it's a good time to end our funnel pour walkthrough. And please join me tomorrow. And I'm going to show you some different ways of doing the funnel pour, some variations on it. I'm going to do a glue one with silicone or dimethicone. We'll get some different types of cells, which will be really, really cool. And I might do a multiple funnel pour, similar to what Donna was talking about, maybe funnel drag, and then I'll drag another one through there. That sounds like a whole lot of fun. We might do one of those. So a couple different ways of going about funnel pours. So thank you so much for joining me. Please go and check out the membership and see if it's something you might be interested in. And again, it's going to be the only time I ever offer all of these bonuses at once. So it is the best time that it will ever be to join the Pouring Studio membership. So I will see you again tomorrow. I'll send you an email reminder about an hour before we get started. And I will look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.